Here in the Piedmont Triad, we're all connected by the ideas, innovations, and people working to improve our region, from transportation and planning to housing and economic vitality. We bring those conversations to you. Welcome to the Triad Regional Connections podcast, hosted by Audra Adams and Lamar Powell, brought to you by the Piedmont Triad Regional Council. Welcome to the first episode of Triad Regional Connections podcast. My name is Audra Adams, and today, to start things off, we have Executive Director Matthew Dolge with us in the house, and we are going to tell you all about why we are doing this podcast.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
So tell us why it is that PTRC wanted to embark on this kind of journey.
Well, PTRC is all about public service. I think at our heart, we're about serving people in this 12-county region. We're also, a lot of times, doing things behind the scenes. And with all the program we're running, all the programs that we run, it seemed like it was important to do kind of more outreach to the public so that folks could understand the programs we have, how we might benefit them individually to improve their lives with the things that we do. I also think, secondly, that I've got a super staff, and I'm always excited to have them interact with the public more, and this gives them a chance to show themselves, brag a little bit about what they do, and for the public to get to know the folks that are behind the scenes when they talk to us. And then I think probably third for me is we have 78 member local governments across our 12 counties, and we have tons of partner agencies who are out there doing really cool stuff that makes the Triad a great place to start a business, to live, to have your career, and we wanted to highlight them as well.
I've met some of your staff already, and they are so eloquent and poised, and they seem to really enjoy their positions, and they're very, passionate and energetic and well-spoken about, their area and what they're doing and how they're helping people. And I just get that feeling from every one of y'all. And, that's something pretty special. You don't see that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I think we've got a philosophy at our place. We want to hire the best folks that we can, really talented people who are engaged. Again, we talk to them from the time they walk through the door the first time about serving the public. They've got to really have a heart and a spirit for doing that. But if they want to do that, and they're talented and they're energetic and creative, then we just try to set them loose and let them do the things they can do best and be creative and innovate around the programs we have. And it really causes a great mix because, I think that keeps them really engaged. And an engaged person, quite frankly, is a good employee, and they're doing great things for folks.
Absolutely. And it just bolsters your mission and pushes it forward. And what I've noticed is anybody that we've talked to in any of these processes leading up to today, they've been there not 5 months, not 2 months, years. Yeah. Years that they are staying, and you're retaining that. And there is something very special to say about that and about the leadership of that. And that moves us into why we're doing this podcast. And you've already said what you want to accomplish and what your vision is. But now I want to get into some of the programming that some of us would just never know about unless we heard about it one-on-one like this. What are the top 3 programs that you want to push out there you think people really don't know about?
Well, I think the first thing is we are kind of behind the scenes because we cover 12 counties. And again, as I said, we had 78 member governments. So all the cities, all the counties in the Triad are members. And what we try to help them do is consolidate programs so that they don't all have to have those programs. And that if you're knocking on a door in Greensboro or in Davie County or in Montgomery County, in workforce programs, in housing programs, that you're getting the same great type of service you would in any of those. That there's kind of one door, one process, and everybody can kind of get the same types of services. Because a lot of times we have communities, again, could a Greensboro do things on their own? They certainly are big enough and could do that. But a lot of times these programs wouldn't happen in the smaller, more rural areas if we couldn't do them across that broader scope of communities like we do. As I look at our programming, I think about workforce. And so we're doing workforce in 10 counties.
And what does that mean?
So it's all about talent. It's about helping folks interact with the jobs that are available within the region. And so we work with individuals who want to upskill or who may be unemployed, who are still out there looking. So we can help them get training. We can pay for them to go get training in a community college in a skill that they like, or get a certificate that allows them to be employable. We have job fairs so that they can come and see the scope of things. They may have a skill set. We had a local government job fair. There may be 15 different jobs you could do. If you're kind of good with your hands, you want to work outside, or you can do building maintenance and things like that. There are a lot of different jobs you could do with that skill set when you bring all those local governments together. So it's helping people interact with kind of the jobs that are out there. But also on the flip side, it's helping employers. So we work with employers to analyze their workplace. What are they paying? How does that stack up against the folks who are in their sector? Are they competitive with that? Is there a work structure? We have folks who are working on shifts, or maybe, that work hours might be an issue when they're looking at hiring folks. We try to make them think about themselves holistically when they're looking at bringing on employees, what might make them a good employer, what might make them competitive to bring in good folks. And then we help them recruit folks. So again, we'll do a job fair just for one employer and help them bring folks in to look at those jobs.
How does the employer, or you find the employer, or the employer finds you?
So a little bit of both. So if we see things, we'll reach out to folks. So a lot of times you'll see things in the newspapers, employers are coming in, or they're looking to hire new folks, or they're bringing on a new line, and so we'll reach out to folks there. We also advertise. We're members like of the Kernersville Chamber and the Winston Chamber, and so we reach out to folks through those relationships, and then through our partners like a community college who may be designing a training regimen for an employer in the region that's bringing on maybe a new skill set. So they'll set up the training. And then they'll reach out to us so that we can work with that employer on some of the other things around that, either paying for the folks, helping them recruit, etc.
That is huge. That is huge. So, okay, that's one thing, workforce. What would the second thing come to mind be?
So I think the next probably that is probably really interactive with individuals is probably our housing programs and community development. And so we have a really broad scope of things that we do in that area, everything from rental assistance and helping folks who are struggling to stay in a home. We do that in some of our counties. We do rehabilitation work for folks who may be in their home, but it's run down, especially for the elderly a lot of times, who end up being in a situation where they're on restricted incomes. They need things done to their house, and they can stay in their house, but they can't necessarily afford improvements and things like that. We do weatherization to help folks save money on power bills and things like that, so that they can, again, if they're in a situation where money is an issue, and that's where a lot of folks are these days,
Yeah.
They have to make choices. If I'm paying a power bill that's really high, am I getting medication? Are there other things that might fall through the cracks? And so we try to bring down power bills, energy consumption, so that folks can afford where they are. So that's, again, just a nuts and bolts, helping folks be more successful and thrive in their life where they are by helping them manage some of the factors kind of around their lives.
Absolutely. I've heard some about your aging program.
Yeah, and aging programs are great. I'd probably go there next. It's actually our largest program. We are the area agency on aging across all 12 counties. And that really takes state and federal dollars, which come to us, and then we distribute to each county. And the counties have a kind of a broad list of things that we put together a committee, and they can make decisions on how they'd like to use those funds to better serve their citizens. That's everything from nutrition. So most folks know Meals on Wheels.
Right.
So most of the funding for Meals on Wheels across the 12 counties comes from our agency and then goes out to those counties.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and so some of the counties put in additional money because they don't have a waiting list. We have, obviously restrictions, but so Meals on Wheels, or what we call congregate nutrition, which is like at senior centers where folks go and have lunch every day, and then they have a social environment to be with other folks their age and do everything from playing bingo to learning skills and things like that, crafts. And so there's that congregate nutrition also if they can get out of the house, which is kind of a neat thing. in-home aid, where nursing assistants come in at times during the week to help folks who maybe aren't ambulatory or have struggled with certain parts of kind of meeting their life's needs. There are a lot of those programs, and there's transportation, so we'll pay for transportation so they can get to the grocery store and pick up groceries if they need to, or go to doctor's visits or that type of thing. So that's all about dealing with an older population, a population that's aging in our region, and helping them stay independent, stay in their homes, again, have a thriving life where they would like it to be. Most folks, there's some who would like to go into a living environment that's all elderly population, and we do have some great facilities around our region, but quite frankly, a lot of folks would rather stay at their home as long as they can.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really designed to help them do that and keep their life where they would like it to be, where they can make some choices there.
How do you get the word out, especially to aging, the aged? How did they know? I mean, some of them are not on the internet. So, do you work?
When we do work with that, that's another piece that we've really been engaged with, which is literacy for older adults. And so we do courses and getting them online on their telephones, or we take tablets out. We've given tablets to folks so that they can kind of learn how to navigate some of those things themselves. And so that's kind of a neat thing also. But I think your point's well taken. It takes multiple ways to reach out to folks there. One thing again is I always praise our partners. We've got such great partners across a lot of these programs. And in aging, there's a really great network of service providers that we're funding, and they're providing those services. We're not about building internal services ourselves, kind of building a kingdom or something like that. We would rather fund other folks who are doing good work and let them keep doing that. So an example would be in Forsyth County, where we are today. Senior Services is a huge provider of services across a lot of different programs, and so we're funding them. They're doing outreach, and we're helping them do that. The Shepherd Center is another partner that we fund for programming. So again, we've got all the transportation providers. We work with them, and so we advertise and we work on those things, but a lot of times we're using our partners to get information out, and they have folks coming to them, and so we're funding those things when they come in the door.
So as we've been talking, the subject of partners has come up multiple times. Tell me about your partners, not just who they are, but how they become your partners.
Yeah, so obviously our first group are all those local governments, and they're incredible members. They guide us. Their board members are my board members, and so they're really we bring ideas, and they tell us what they think will work, and they give us a lot of opportunities to kind of neat, creative stuff and innovative stuff. But with them, what we really would like to highlight are the great things they're doing on a daily basis to help folks within this region, and that might be what really cool economic development projects have they been involved with that are going to bring jobs or improve the way of life for folks. What is the let's open the hood at Toyota and look under the hood and see the batteries that they're building and what they're doing that's helping electrify this country in transportation in ways never been done before. What about supersonic flight? Is that something that could really happen for individuals as we move into the future with Boom Supersonic at the airport, or the Institute for Regenerative Medicine at the Innovation Corridor, where they're actually regenerating and building new organs for people from their own DNA, so that in the military, somebody has a catastrophic injury, they can survive that by getting a transplant with their own, an organ that won't be rejected.
Listen, I need to sign up for all of that.
So it's cool stuff that they're doing, and a lot of people just don't know those things, and it really does have an impact on what's going on here. Our region now has about 1.8 million people in it. We've got the second and third largest cities in North Carolina right here. And so though you hear a lot about Raleigh and you hear a lot about Charlotte, we figured it was time that you heard maybe a little bit more about the interesting things going on here in the Triad. So I'd say that's our first partners. I think next we work with a huge number of nonprofits. We work with educational institutions, universities, and community colleges. And again, what they're doing every day is making this region a place that's really interesting to live in, and that you can find a lot of different entertainment in. You can have a lot of different educational experiences. There are just interesting things you can do all the time here, and that's what our partners are really doing day in and day out. We have a group that we started at Piedmont Triad Cog years ago, probably 20, 25 years ago, that was all about greenways and trails. And now we've got this huge trail network across this region, and just miles and miles of interesting greenways and trails so that folks can get out and ride their bikes or walk and take care of themselves and get out into the nature a little bit. And so, that's the kind of folks who would come and talk about those things, and I think give you a little better picture of kind of the interesting things that are coming that you might want to take advantage of here in the region.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to take advantage of that. And the first step is letting people know that there's something to take advantage of. But it's so impressive how many hats PTRC is wearing at the same time. And they're just doing it. And y'all are doing it excellently. I can't grammar today, but you're doing it with excellence. And, it is so needed. I almost feel like you're just this silent, I can't think of the word. I'll go back. What is the word? Okay, I got it.
Okay.
All right. I feel like y'all are just a silent foundation that is really bolstering and giving other people who want to do good just that push that they need to go out and do that. And you're so happy. Not only are you staying with what you know, but you're constantly looking to get into things that you haven't thought of yet. It blows my mind, honestly, how you got.
Well, I think one thing is, again, it's driven by what we can think of and what our board will allow us to do. So one, I've got a great board that allows us to innovate and do new things. If we can make the case for it, they'll usually give us an opportunity because we do tend to be pretty successful with those things. And I think, and we've had a lot of wins in our region because of that. And it's, again, having a great staff and keeping them engaged. And I do think that when you talk to our staff, you'll hear, I think, that joy in getting to do a lot of different things when they come and talk to you, because hopefully we aren't a whole lot about coming in and punching a time clock and doing the same thing day after day. We're about coming in, getting engaged with folks, getting engaged with issues, and then letting that kind of spur ideas on how we can better do things. And so I always tell folks, if you're interested in doing the same thing every day, we're probably not the best place for you. If you want real certainty on what your job's going to be next year compared to what it is this year, it might be a really different thing depending upon what your initiative and what you would like to do. And so I do think that gives us that ability to go out there and find new things and innovate. And then the other thing for us is there are a lot of folks doing really neat stuff, but they don't have the capacity to ramp that up.
Exactly.
I always say with our nonprofits who do great work, they're usually fundraising and taking every dollar they have and trying to serve somebody because that's what they want to do. They want to give folks meals so that they can, have a better life. They want to help folks with job training. They want to help folks in their homes. We try to help them find other funding sources, and then we have the capacity. So if they get a big grant, and we can take that grant in and we can write the checks and we can do the reporting and those things that might really burden them in a way that keeps them from doing the work that they would like to do. And so a lot of, I think, how we help push things in the region is really lending our capacity that we've built to other folks. And then once you scale up, then they're able to, I think, bring in more money and they can handle those things themselves. But we help get over the top, I think.
Absolutely. Now, what should everyone that is viewing and listening to this podcast expect in the future?
I would say just stay tuned because who knows? I mean, right now, by Thursday, so today we're at Monday, and by this Thursday, we'll have an application in for Rural Health Transformation Program in North Carolina. So the state has gotten a big chunk of money. We all know that healthcare in rural communities has suffered over the years because of consolidation in hospital systems and doctors not being available to rural residents, nurses, et cetera. And so there's a grant that's out there to try to look at the system and figure out how do we motivate healthcare professionals to stay? How can we incentivize them to stay in rural communities? What are the pieces out there that are working that we might be able to amplify in ways that could spread across the region and be more effective in serving folks and things that they need for things like maternal health or disease issues like diabetes or things like that. the state put out a 156-page request for applications, and we're stepping up and trying to make sure that the Triad's included in that. And so 30 days to throw that together, and we'll see what happens when we get that in. But that's the kind of thing is we're always looking for that next step. So it might be completely different next year. We might have some really cool new things to talk about. Again, that's kind of our goal every day when we come in, is look for that next thing.
Well, and as you do look for that next thing, this podcast will be there to highlight all the next things. And that way we can tell the viewers and the listeners what is going on and how they can become engaged and how they can potentially become partners as well.
Well, I'm really excited about it.
Thank you so much for everything that you do and for wearing all the hats that you do with, grace and with a servant's heart. And I look forward to meeting your staff and being able to hear what they're passionate about and what they're excellent at as well.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you. And that is our first episode. And we hope that you will join us for all the ones to come. You are not going to want to miss it. Thank you. And we'll see you the next time.